Now that my topping, which is in the bottom of the pan, is all in place, it's time to make the batter. The sour cream batter is my favorite cake to use with these fruit toppings. And I use all egg yolks for the richest, most delicious, tender flavor, and sour cream, and you can replace the sour cream with whole milk yogurt if you like. You get very similar flavor and texture. And I use about a quarter of it to mix with these egg yolks. The rest will go in with the dry ingredients and the vanilla. And this is just whisked together, and then it will be added in the second stage of the mixing. It's a very quick batter to make. Meantime, I'm preheating my oven, 350 degrees. Most cakes bake at that temperature. The flour, which is cake flour without any leavening, just plain cake flour, has been weighed already. I'm adding the sugar, and this can be refined sugar, granulated sugar, or sugar that's called turbinado sugar that's brown for a little more molasses flavor. When I say add all the dry ingredients, I include the sugar. I know the old style is, this is the baking powder, baking soda, salt. The old style of mixing cake batters has been to cream the butter and the sugar, but I always mix my dry ingredients together, and that includes the sugar. I find it's easier and I get a better texture. There's no risk of over-mixing. So now I'm just going to mix these dry ingredients on low for about a minute because it's more even than sifting them together. And now I can add the butter and the rest of the sour cream that was not used in the egg mixture. The butter should not be kitchen room temperature because that's usually 80 degrees. It should be cool room temperature, which means cool to the touch but squishable. When you press it, it leaves a dent. And to get it to that state, just remember to take it out of the refrigerator about 20 minutes before you're going to bake. If you have forgotten, slice it, because when you slice butter, it softens really quickly. Now this first part of the batter is mixed for 1.5 minutes. Bring it up slowly so it doesn't jump out of the pan, out of the mixing bowl. And then as soon as all the dry ingredients are moistened, you can bring it up to medium speed and continue beating for 1.5 minutes. That aerates and it develops the cake structure. Stop the mixer and always scrape down the sides because the batter jumps to the sides and never gets mixed in completely with the rest of the batter. And now the egg mixture that we made earlier with the vanilla, the egg yolk, and the sour cream is going to be mixed in 3 stages, and I beat it for 20 seconds approximately between each addition. Start on low speed. That's about 1/3, and then bring it up to medium and beat 20 seconds. And now bring it back down to low again, add another 1/3. If you're using a handheld mixer, use high speed, and that's about equivalent to medium on a stand mixer. Bring it back up to medium and another 20 seconds. Back down, and now the final addition, and be sure to scrape as much of it as possible in, because if you leave a lot in the bowl, it will end up being a drier cake. And this is actually a very moist cake because all of the juices from the fruit get incorporated into it. So this is the final mixing, the last 20 seconds, and then it's going to be poured over the fruit. You can see it's a really thick batter, and that's going to make a very light cake. But as I said, it won't be dry because we have the fruit and the caramel that's going to be dripping into the cake. It's like a self-basted cake. I think that's much of the reason for its popularity. Always scrape the sides toward the end. And then you can dump it all in because I use my handy little offset spatula to spread it evenly. Cakes even out to a certain degree in the oven, but you want to start off as smooth and even as you can to help it look really good. And you can see how easy it is when you're using this little spatula because the offset enables you to get right down in the pan and smooth it out. Now the oven has been preheating to 350 degrees for at least 20 minutes. I know it looks a little skimpy, but this is going to puff up. Remember, there's baking powder, there's baking soda. The baking soda is there to neutralize the sour cream or the yogurt that you've used, and that combines with it and helps it to rise. Okay, and now I'm going to take it on the pan, because this way it would flex if I didn't have the firm pan, and put it in the oven. And now it's going to bake for 40 to 45 minutes, or until it tests done. And I have one that's just reached the done point, which I have to unmold right away so I can catch all of the caramel. I'm testing the cake to see if it's done, and it's bouncing back. If it weren't bouncing back so vigorously, I'd use a little cake tester to make sure it came out clean. And now I'm going to put the serving platter directly on top and unmold it right onto the serving platter. Just flipping the two parts together. It's really safe to do this if you do it in one smooth motion. There's no way it's going to fall. And remember that this pan is still hot, even though it's not metal. I'll let it sit for a second, and then because it's flexible, it comes right off, and there's hardly anything left in the pan. And that's what I love about these pans. If we were using a cast iron pan, not only would the acidity of the pineapple start eating away at all the conditioning of the pan, but part of the caramel would have to be lifted off the pan and placed on the top of the pineapple upside down cake. So I love to eat this cake a little bit warm. So I let it cool and then slice it while it's still warm. And there you have it, the classic American pineapple upside down cake that never goes out of style.